Hi everybody, happy March and welcome to the Flavor Adventure, the year of, with the Lawrenceburg Public Library. A big thanks to the Lawrenceburg Public Library and the Friends of for sponsoring the take-home kits. You for expressing interest in them and registering and coming and getting them. And just to reintroduce myself, I'm Carisa Bunten from 7th Street Gifts. We're a little brick and mortar apothecary in Newport, Kentucky, and we've actually started to relocate our production to 517 West 7th Street in Newport. So we're still 7th Street Gifts. We're just a few blocks west now, and that's where we're making our blends and jellies and the things that are in your kits now. So again, for the month of March, for the Flavor Adventure, we chose the flower hibiscus. And it's just one of my all-time favorites, and I hope that it'll be yours too. So hibiscus has 300 types of species, all the way from teeny little like ornamental tea size to every color known to man to huge trees that you might see like in the Florida Keys or in tropical locations. Now they are all edible technically, but the one that's generally used for teas and for culinary and for its strong flavor and color is the Sabidoriffa species. And that's the one that's in your bag. So generally when you get like a hibiscus tea in the store or even at Dunkin' or certainly from us at 7th Street Gifts, this is the strain or the species of the hibiscus that we're consuming and eating that's common in the culinary world. So again, the flavor adventure of hibiscus is if I had to use one word to explain it, it would be tangy. And so it's got like a bit of a bite to it, but not so much that you can't enjoy. And it is with like a tart berry, cranberry note, but I would consider it more of a tang than a tartness, if that makes sense to you at all. But it does have a tart quality, but not nearly as tart as like a cranberry juice or a cranberry itself. One little tip for the hibiscus is that if you start to experiment with your recipes and your flavors from your kits, or you get more hibiscus and do it on your own, and to adjust the flavor, if you want it a little bit stronger or a little bit weaker for your next batch, instead of extending steep time, which is what I've encouraged you to do in the past for like the peppermints and even the teas from the year of tea last year, you would not extend your steep time for hibiscus because it'll turn it, kind of make it go south and make it too tart and too tangy to enjoy. So you don't want to extend the time on it. What you would do is you would adjust the quantity and you would add just a little bit more hibiscus to your steep time in your next batch to make it stronger. Or if it was too strong the first time, you would decrease the amount maybe to 1 teaspoon and see if that wasn't better for your palate. But it's pretty important to not extend a steep time of 10 minutes with hibiscus. So again, that kind of goes against a lot of the other tips I've given in previous botanical and herb and spice tea classes and lectures, but hibiscus is sort of the exception to the rule for this. It does have an incredibly potent flavor, so it's nice to make and blend well with others or add kind of as a concentrate to more diluted things like seltzers or Sprites. And it has an incredible color, like the vivid, beautiful ruby red hue. And it almost makes you wonder why we've incorporated like red 40 and artificial food coloring in when you could just extract it from things like the hibiscus and get just such a true, pure, beautiful color from nature. So kind of to reintroduce or revisit the idea, the general ratio with its potency is quite strong. So you generally only need 2 teaspoons, and we all know how much a teaspoon is. It's very little, to 1 cup of water as a starting point. So your ounce of cut and sifted hibiscus flowers are going to go a really long way because this is one of those botanicals where less is more. It's naturally caffeine free, which makes it a nice choice for fancy drinks and like late night or end of the day teas. It's loaded with vitamin C. It's just off the charts with vitamin C. And there's a lot of research, new and old, that suggests it can help lower high blood pressure and aid in overall cardiovascular health. So generally speaking, until you sweeten it or adulterate it in any way, it's an incredibly healthy drink choice because it's just loaded with vitamins and then of course the heart-loving properties that it has. And a lot of that lends to its natural color, that bright red. They generally say things that are bred by natural choice, like berries and hibiscus, bright red apples, are generally good for your heart. It kind of pairs up with it. So it's tartness or tanginess. Tanginess would probably be the word I would go to. Does take a sweetener really well. So this is one too that if you have to watch your sugar intake and use an artificial sweetener a lot, like a stevia or a Splenda, that tends to be a little bit sweetener and can sometimes, or a little bit sweeter than sugar or honey, and be kind of tricky to get that perfect balance or ratio. This is a flavor that really takes those artificial or less common sweeteners well. And it takes very little sugar to enhance the flavor. And then you can certainly use honey and just table sugar as well. But this hibiscus to me tastes like an artificial or a stevia sweetener better than almost any of the other botanicals. Because those sweeteners can be tricky to get it just right and make it taste the way you want and not have that kind of like saccharine aftertaste from it. So what I would like to suggest too is last month's elderberry syrup that I had in the handout, and then obviously the simple syrup that we made for January's peppermint. Those recipes can all be applied to the hibiscus as well. So you would just substitute this month's hibiscus to make the simple syrup. So if you liked the idea of the simple syrup and making your own schnapps and like flavors, you could apply that exact same recipe from either January's peppermint or February's elderberry and substitute it with your hibiscus and make a simple syrup for mocktails or cocktails, seltzer water, lemonade, a little hit to a Sprite to make it naturally pink without like a dye or adding cherry juice or something like that. Now we generally tend to think of hibiscus as a beverage. I know I do, like you would consume it as a tea, but it's also enjoyed as a food that you actually eat and ingest the flower in various ways all around the world, mostly in tropical locations where it's kind of prolific and grows everywhere year round. So a lot of times there'll be garnishes in salads, desserts, things of that nature because it's so bountiful and plentiful. It's easy to just pluck and garnish with. It's oftentimes candied. It's kind of like dehydrated and coated in like an egg white and a candy, and it's really good and kind of hardened. And you kind of munch on it as like an after snack, like we would eat a mint maybe, or like a finish with a fruit. It's used again, like I said, as just a general garnish, kind of how we would pick like sage or parsley or thyme around here, or even pansies or nasturtiums, and garnish salads and side dishes. In Mexican dishes, authentic Mexican dishes, when you eat in the native land, it's added to both savory and sweet dishes. So it's not reserved for just sweeter desserts and kind of sweet beverages, which I kind of think of it as. They incorporated it into hot salsas. So also think of the color that it would bring to a salsa. A hibiscus flower chopped up in there with your peppers and your chilies and your onions. And then they're even added into enchiladas and quesadillas. So you can certainly consume hibiscus flowers as a food and not just as a steeped tea. Also, I've been to like the Keys and things before where we've just pulled the little buds off that haven't quite unfurled and opened yet, and not the green part, but eaten and bit the top off, kind of like you would like a pea pod or a bean in the garden, just as a little kind of fun snack. Now again, with its tanginess and tartness, and then with its beautiful color, to revisit my idea of being at the commercial kitchen and expanding into consumer packaged goods, the jellies. This is one of my favorite jellies so far. It's the hibiscus jelly. And the ingredients in your hibiscus jelly are sugar. That's the first ingredient, 4.5 cups. To 3.5 cups of a hibiscus tea or tisane, which is just an infusion that I made out of this very same thing with water, just water right from the tap. Lime juice, and please note that your label has lemon juice on it, but my first few batches had lemon, but I decided to change it to lime, and it makes the color stand out better and enhances the flavor. I think tropically it pairs better with the flavor palette. So that's something to think of too when you think of the origins of things. I was pairing this with lemon, and it does much, much better with lime as far as a flavor combination or palette. And then it just has some pectin in it, Sure Gel, which is vegan. So this is a plant-based vegan jelly. It's just about an ounce, and it's really, really pretty. You just use it as a regular jelly, like with your peanut butter and jelly or on your toast or your bagel. And if you want to add it into something like a sauce or a relish or a marinade, you could certainly do that for the color and a little bit of the tangy flavor base. And now I know most years or months we put your botanicals into your muslin bag for you, but this month I left the cut and sifted hibiscus flowers loose and out because the measurements, you need so little, right? We're talking teaspoons. I wanted you to be able to easily pull it out and measure it. And then a lot of people leave the hibiscus flowers loose and kind of let them unfurl and expand and reconstitute, and they look really beautiful, kind of like floating around in a punch bowl or in a big pot of tea. So they're generally a botanical that you don't always use a strainer or a bag for, and you allow to freely kind of incorporate in with your beverages. So if you wanted to do that, I wanted you to have the option or the choice for it. So again, you've got certified organic cut and sifted hibiscus flowers, and this is the species that's in your bag. It's generally the common culinary flower that you use in the hibiscus family. Your organic muslin drawstring bag that you can use as a tea strainer to infuse flavor if you decide to make a syrup, and then your nice ounce of cut and sifted hibiscus flowers. And again, the reason that they're not in the bag this month is they are a flower that oftentimes gets reconstituted with your hot water and added to like a punch bowl with ginger ale or Sprites, or even in teapots or teacups. You can add just like one petal and add it in and watch the strength of the color to determine your flavor. So it's one that serves a little bit well loosely and gives you a little bit more flexibility with the ways you use it in your kitchen for your flavor. So in conclusion, the Flavor Adventure with the Lawrenceburg Public Library and myself, Carisa Bunten, with 7th Street Gifts for the month of March was hibiscus, a cut and sifted organic flower, and your handout has a lot of recipes too. It's got some really nice tea blends to show you the other flavors it blends well with: spearmint, vanilla, clove, cinnamon. It gives you the recipes of the hibiscus jelly, and then the QR code that you can zap and visit our website for more details, recipes, growing tips and tricks, and purchasing ability. So thanks a lot. Enjoy your hibiscus. It's a beautiful color red. You're just not going to believe the hue it comes. And that vitamin C and that tangy tart flavor really pairs well, so this is your chance to kind of sweeten it up and have some fun. Thanks a lot.